Right now, everyone is going to RV shows. They're looking at the new products. They're going out and they're getting pricing, trying to figure out which unit is going to be the best to suit them and their family, obviously for the upcoming season. One big question that is being asked relentlessly: why aren't you guys at the RV shows? Where are you at the RV shows? What RV show can I come see you guys at? I obviously have my own, reasoning to tell them as far as why we won't be there, why we won't be attending. But I would love for them to hear it from you. You see a lot of the things behind the scenes that you have to deal with on paper, not necessarily, I'll refer to that as more political side of things. So would you mind giving us your insight on that?
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons. We did our first RV show this year in over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
We used to be in like the local RV shows, which for us we're in Ohio. We're filming this right now in Lakeview, Ohio, so it's kind of west central Ohio. We've done the Dayton show probably 23 years ago. We were in the Columbus show one time. I'll tell you what kind of pushed us out of the shows. Those two shows in particular was what I call collusion, for lack of a better term, and we're never trying to offend anyone, but we are always going to be honest. And what happened was, I'll never forget it, the first show we were at, they called a meeting of all the dealers, right? And we all gather around and kind of interested, your dad and I watching this thing, and what came out was we were all going to pick the same fees and settle. Like, fees? We don't have fee. We have dock and title fee and a factory freight type of thing, And I'm like, fees? And they're talking about, what are we going to set our PDI fee at?
Yeah.
And I think there was $700 at that show. And then they had this crazy high factory freight fee. But everybody agreed on the same fees and on the same dollar amounts because then you couldn't fight them,
Sure.
right? You can't pit dealer against dealer. The other really interesting thing was they were all talking about how their pricing was between 15 to 45% higher at the show, right? And in my mind, just being kind of new to the dealership business was, wait a minute, I thought shows were where people went to save money.
Well, that's where the overall, one of the myths that I would like to put to bed is the show is where you go to get the best pricing, right?
Exactly. And see, what I always tell people is go to the show, right? Especially if you live in Ohio. It's cold right now. If you're in Florida, you can still do some things in some of the Gulf states, some of the western states, but it's cold here. So it's fun to go to an RV show. It's fun to see all the trailers at once, right? And all the motorhomes and be able to walk through them and see what you like and maybe don't like. And, I thought this was the floor plan, but it really doesn't fit us. So there's a great reason to go to RV shows. One, it gives you something to do. Two, you can do a lot of great browsing, right? You can really look. Here's the problem with the RV show. And again, we just did one. We just did the Columbus RV show. We literally, legally had to push our way into it. And the reason for that is we bought a dealership in Delaware, Ohio, which is considered Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
So they had to let us in, so they gave us one spot all the way in the very back. If you were there, you know what I'm talking about. All the way in the very back, tucked in the corner, trying to hide us. You say, well, why did you go? We went just to remind people why we were there, how to be safe at an RV show.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I would hit real quick with you. Think of it this way, okay? I already own a facility. I already have all the bills here, my brother and I. You have all your staffing, right? Everything. So now I'm going to take my units and go, for us, about 60 miles away. We've got to pay to get all those units down there. We have to have extra insurance. We got staffing now that we have to locate down there. When the units get down there, we have to clean them inside and out again because it's winter.
Yep.
So they get very, very dirty. We've got to set them up. You have to pay fees for people to help you set them up. You have all these extra costs, right? You have additional hours that people are working when your dealership normally wouldn't be open. There's marketing involved. And normally you're about $45 a square foot.
That's what I wanted to say too.
Yeah.
I've seen the numbers on just the space, and if you do the math, I mean, square
just
feet.
For this unit, a square foot.
You're at average $100,000 to get into the show.
Right. Most dealers are tens of thousands to $100,000 to have any kind of decent display in a show. Here's the problem with that. How do I lower my prices if I just made a huge investment in the show?
Yeah.
The answer is they don't.
Yep.
And Dalton, you're at the Columbus show. What did you see price-wise?
So what I did is I walked around and kind of audited ourselves against some of the other people that were there. And, everybody kind of carries the same brand, if not a very, very similar brand to one another. And what I discovered is everybody's within $2,000-3,000 of each other, and without fees, of course, because without probing into everybody else's fees, because I have no idea what those are. If that's because we didn't get invited to the meeting, if there was another one this year, as well as
they remember us well, so there's no reason to invite us to the meeting because we're not going to have hidden fees. We're not going to have we're not going to collude on fees with other dealers. Also on pricing, and I didn't get to go into that, but they all met and discussed that if we all hold a certain margin, right, they can't really beat us up, and people will just have to buy what they like and pay our prices. And we've just never, we don't operate that way. We're very proud of the fact that we're incredibly affordable and our price is incredibly competitive. If you come to one of our places, you don't see asphalt everywhere. You see stone. We don't have an indoor showroom. We just don't spend money on things that force us to raise our prices, which makes us have to pass that on to you. So now you're paying more interest, more taxes on the same exact unit, right? We like to keep the prices very affordable. Where we spend our money is on service. And if you notice at the show, service was not a topic.
It was just price, right?
It was just price. Everybody just wants to talk price. And look, we all have the same price. So what's your lesser of all the evils, And what I love to point out to customers is, again, go to a show and shop, meaning look.
Yes.
See what you like. Make sure that floor plan fits your family that's in there. Make sure that's the brand that you want to buy, right? But don't go to the show and buy because it's going to be a higher price.
Absolutely.
It just is. We challenged some customers a couple years ago at the Tampa RV show down in Florida to do a little research, grab some prices a month or two before the show, and then go to the show. And what they found was the prices were drastically different. I mean, they weren't even close. They had raised their price thousands of dollars. And the reason they raised the price thousands of dollars was to cover the cost of the show.
Oh, absolutely.
So you weren't getting a better price. You're getting a much worse price, very honestly. And remember, then you have to pay tax on that thousands of dollars. You have to pay interest on that thousands of dollars.
And that's one thing I noticed. So talking to a couple customers, getting to know them, and while at the show, just doing some general education, because one of the points of the podcast, this discussion, is helping educate people. While they were down there, they weren't being shown the camper that they're walking through. They weren't being, hey, this is how this works. This is what this does, et cetera, et cetera. And the salesmen that are down there aren't doing that. They're just, yep, this is a camper, this is a price. On top of the customers that I dealt with, they were, they would be like, yeah, this is the price. Well, let's go look at that unit. Well, that's a 2022. It has X options. And
I was just getting ready to say that. When you had brought me the sheet of the pricing
Yeah.
difference, the closest one to our price was a 22, and we were comparing that to our 23.
Yep.
And we were still $3,000 cheaper.
Yep. So
That's
we were cheaper, and when you compared apples to apples on the camper, they were looking at a 2022, and we had a 2023. Both were ordered campers, and that we were price protected, and they weren't.
And you got to think too, you're not selling the same camper to 100 people. These
Yeah.
are going to be ordered. A lot of the times at the RV shows, they add a lot of features to that camper: slide out toppers, triple step solid stairs to grab, just all of these accessories that aren't even factory options. They add to the campers at the show, make them more than what they are. When you're going to pick it up, on a lot of people, this is just what I've heard, it's a totally different camper that they're picking up when they are picking it up. And a lot of campers now, as far as availability, which we do want to get to in a moment, but if you went to buy a motorhome there, chances are that's on order, and you're going to have to wait a very long time. Your price is going to be subject to change anyway. That's something I also want to get into.
We were
But
just told that the Ford, who makes the chassis for most of the motorhomes, about 90%, just cut shipments again to the RV industry.
oh, absolutely.
If you want a motorhome, it's very important that you ask some questions, whether you're at a show or a dealer's lot or wherever you're at. When will I get it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is it already built? But what are you going to do about the price?
What they're hoping and what they're preying on is you not asking the questions.
Right.
Right? Just seeing and acknowledging what they have, even if it is in writing, they're hoping that you do not ask those questions, and that's why we want to make sure you are and give you the questions to ask as well.
No, and I want to invite everybody to check out our webinars. We do webinars all the time, and in the webinars we tell you how to safely buy an RV, and we're getting ready to do a webinar on how to safely buy an RV if you're attending a show, and the safe way to do that is don't buy the RV at the show, buy it after the show. And things like, hey, this price goes up right after the show. If they can do the price today, they can do it after the show.
Absolutely.
And they bring in factory reps to help, turn the screws a little bit, make it feel a little more vital, that sort of thing. Again, the way we look at it is we don't want a sale from you. We want a partnership, right? We want to bring you into our family. We want you to feel comfortable before you buy. We want you to feel really comfortable after you buy, with great service. And if you can get someone to sit down, ask them questions, right? How are you going to take care of me after this sale?
Yep.
Just what are your fees? And when they say, we don't have fees, well, just put it in writing for me then, right? Put in writing that if my price changes one dime between now and when I pick this up from you, I get my deposit back.
Yep.
Put that in writing for me. If they won't, then your price is going to change. If you ask any of our people, can I get that in writing? Absolutely.
I tell people
We'll write it
that
in there for 'em.
I tell people that all the time. We do not make enough money on each individual sale to pat ourselves on the back and say we got them, we're good. We take a couple pennies from your pocket. We take care of you after the sale. We need you to come back and buy again from us.
We need you to send your friends, your
And
families, your
even if it's
coworkers.
the last one, we expect you. Your word of mouth is stronger and more powerful than any advertisement we could pay for. You send us your friends and your family because they'll be taken care of as well. That's why we do what we do.
So we don't do the shows, but we do the virtual RV show. Is that why? So that way we can keep everything here, not transport down there?
The cost is drastically different. We really have very little, if any, expense in the virtual RV show.
And a lot of times the manufacturers will toss us rebates to advertise theirs. We give that to the customer. We want to save you more money that doesn't necessarily come from our pocket. It's nice. It's a really good incentive that it keeps everyone happy. So it's absolutely.